Hi. So last week I shared a video where I talked about the building blocks of smart to-do lists that make you feel very clear about what you have to do every single day and prevent you from scattering your attention and energy around the place. But pretty lists that just sit there and collect dust never helped anyone get anything done. So in this video I'll be sharing how to turn an imaginary to-do list that's just sitting there and collecting dust into an actionable to-be-done list in real life, so that you can feel really content and happy about the progress you're making every single day, boost your self-esteem, but also have a little bit more time to take care of yourself, recharge your batteries, and also have a better work-life balance. So if you haven't watched part 1 of this video yet, make sure you do so before, because in it I really shared practical and really important building blocks to build a to-do list that's very clear and well organized and represents achievable goals that you can get done day after day. Okay, so you've watched part 1 and you have now a beautiful to-do list with the top important priorities in your life. You've broken them down into achievable, smart steps. What do we do now? We reprioritize. We have new things to do every single day and they change constantly, and some of them are not predictable. So that's why it's important to, once you have prioritized your to-do list, to make sure you check in with yourself every single day, whether in the morning or at night before you go to bed, and reprioritize all the items in your to-do list and shuffle it up to make sure that it always reflects the current reality in your life.
Let's reshuffle the elements on the to-do list shown in part 1 of this video and reprioritize every item. Let's assume that you initially intended to spend the whole morning drafting new PowerPoint slides and reviewing comments from your boss on a specific Word document. But then you arrived into the office, you checked and answered work emails, and in it you found out about updated deadlines on other current to-dos. It's then appropriate to reprioritize, and so here we'll click right, choose priority, and then click high. And so this now would be the first priority. And so if I click somewhere else, it's bumped up to the first place. And as you spoke to your team, you found out that this first task would take significantly longer than expected. It would roughly take 2 to 3 hours first thing in the morning, which means that basically your whole morning will be spent on this task. So it's realistic to put it as most important and then bump the rest down to middle level priority, as we're doing here. So priority medium. Obviously, feeding the cat is urgent. So now let's assume that you have enough knowledge for every task to reprioritize every item on this to-do. Now we have finally a to-do list that's deadline sensitive. This will ensure that you get the most important things that day first things first before moving on onto the rest.
I see you. I know you're tempted to put everything as extremely important. In today's society, essentially everything is a priority. Everybody throws stuff at us and it's always urgent. So that's why it's really important to be clear about what are your deadlines that align with your goals and what are other people's deadlines that align with their goals. So it's always good to ask a question to clarify what's the deadline, why, etc. Obviously, if you're at work and it's a top priority for you because you like that job, you want to keep it, you want to get promoted, that's obviously a priority for you. And if your boss comes at you unexpected one morning saying, hey, you have to review this PowerPoint presentation, aka pitch deck, do it now. I mean, it was not a priority for you, but it's a priority for him as a director, but it's also a priority for you because you want to keep your job and get promoted. So these priorities align. So what I'm trying to say is it's important to really get clear on what's really important. And so my go-tip for this is, if you were to achieve only one thing that day, what would it be? And so you put the number one thing that if it was done that day, or at least you significantly made progress on that day, you would feel content and you would have moved forward towards your most important goal. I know it may not sound like you're doing enough if you just move forward on that one thing, but we never know what can happen. A lot of meetings can be thrown at us, the office can shut down for an emergency reason that nobody can be aware of. I mean, we saw what happened during COVID. A lot of unexpected things can happen. We can fall sick out of a sudden or have a headache or something, and so you thought that you'd be working all day, and guess what? You have something that's just completely changing the course of your day. So that's why it's always important, whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee, to identify that number one thing that needs to be moved forward on that specific day. And then once it's done, you can think about the next. And then we repeat the process. What's the second most important thing that, if I made progress on, would make my day better and more productive and get me closer to my goals? And so you keep repeating the process. Obviously, if you keep repeating the process for every single task, I know you'll still be tempted at this stage to put everything as important and urgent, because I know you're a high achiever, you're amazing, and so I know you can get a lot done in one day. Especially when you're feeling yourself, you're feeling unstoppable, you're high energy. And so go for it if you can. But again, not every day is predictable. And so to avoid overwhelm and to avoid confusion and going in a million different directions, it's important to apply this third layer of prioritization. At this stage, it's now important to differentiate between the important and urgent tasks. Here's how to differentiate between important and urgent tasks and those that are neither.
Let's take a look at this table. On the left, we have urgent tasks. So on the left part of the screen, you see all the tasks that need to be completed ASAP. And on the right part of the screen, we have all the not urgent tasks. So these tasks can wait. Once you have organized your tasks between urgent and not urgent, what you can do is add another level of prioritization by distinguishing those that are important and those that are not. And what do we mean by importance? This can change based on the definition you give it. But throughout this video and part 1, I've shared that at least the basic definition for important and what's not important is essentially what's important to you and your goals. What are the tasks that, if you completed them at the end of the day, would help you move forward towards your top 2 to 3 goals in life? So if we go back to the example we took earlier in this video and in part 1 of this video, the top core priority, and what do we mean by importance? Health and fitness and friends and family. So any to-dos related to these areas of life would be considered a priority. But if I go back specifically to this example on the screen, in the upper left corner, in the urgent and important category, we have the things that do require your full attention first things first when you wake up. In the bottom left corner, we see the tasks that are not related to your top core priorities in life, but still need to be done. And what do we mean by importance? The screen is the one to look at to make sure that you move forward on the most urgent thing every single day. And then once you got done with those, then you can start looking at the left part of the screen and incorporating other important tasks that are not urgent but still need to be done. So essentially, it's only when you're done with the left part of the screen that you can start looking at the right part of the screen, starting from the top, not urgent and important, located on the upper. And what do we mean by importance? Have all the tasks that are still related to your core priorities of focus in life. Only when you're done with the 3 previous categories that I just mentioned, you can move on to the bottom or right-hand corner where we have the not urgent, not important tasks. So these really are the tasks that can wait. Once you're clear with all of your urgent tasks, your important tasks, and the rest, you can translate those into your to-do list and shift their priority degree or level accordingly.
Tip number 2 to make your to-do list actionable. Mark it on the calendar. All of the busy corporate professionals, the startup employees, and also the entrepreneurs will relate at this stage. Sometimes we start our day thinking, I'll get this done and that done and that done, and then when you arrive to the office or you arrive to that workplace, whatever, if it's a coffee or an actual office, you get literally hit by a storm. And you thought that you'd have time to focus quietly, but then it's like imagination versus reality of what you thought would happen. And so little do you know, at the end of the day, you were in 12 meetings, you had a million emails, a million phone calls, you had a million distractions, you also had your pet running around in the room, and so you didn't get the stuff that you thought you would get done, and that's frustrating. And then comes anxiety at the end of the day. Oh my gosh, I need to catch up on this to-do list, so I'll stay later, or I come in the weekend, or I'll just not sleep tonight. That's why it's a huge benefit to take the time to be proactive and plan ahead. And so the calendar can be our best friend for that. And so here, what we don't want to do is put every single step in the calendar and allocate a slot to it. For busy professionals, there are so many unexpected events that sometimes disturb their focus. So I found with experience that allocating a specific slot to every single task can be extremely frustrating when things come in the way, and then you have to keep postponing and postponing and postponing and reshuffle the task all the time. And also there's this terrible and very heavy feeling of I'm not accomplished, I'm always late, I'm not keeping my promises, etc. Trust me, I've been there, it's not cute. So instead, what I recommend you to do is to simply identify the slots in your calendar where you will get to the most important items of your to-do list without assigning specific tasks to those slots. So essentially, your calendar will reflect time slots where you know you will be able to engage in deep focus without any distractions. Other very important thing you want your calendar to reflect is reminders for deadlines, reminder for upcoming appointments, and reminder for calls. Marking all of those appointments and deadlines on your calendar will not only help you get clear on what are the free time slots you have to dedicate to getting your most important things done, but also will prevent you to double book certain things or miss those appointments, obviously. Actionable tip number 3, update your to-do list regularly. So I was serious when I was talking about to-do lists that collect dust. If we don't update our to-do list regularly, at least once a day, they will collect dust. It's truly really important to revisit your list at least once a day. Not more than 2 to 3 times, because then you just keep reshuffling tasks. The ideal time to do that is right in the morning as part of your morning routine before you get to work. Have what I like to call a staffing meeting with yourself to just look at your top priorities for the day. What are the 1, 2, or 3 top items you want to progress on, and what are the other bonus items that you need to get done for the day to make sure that you feel calm and proud of yourself and accomplished by the end of the day. I like to call it the staffing routine because back in my banking days, once a week we had one of the vice presidents, aka VPs, that always scheduled a staffing meeting with everybody in the team to make sure that everybody was clear on what they were working on, what deals they were working on, what metrics they had to, reach, etc. So as your go-to career wellness coach, my aim is to empower you to take matters in your own hands and not wait until somebody else staffs you. Because as I said earlier, again in this video, people are really good at pushing their priorities on you and their deadlines on you, and so everything is always urgent. But it's important that you are clear on what is important for you according to your goals and your wants and your needs. So having a staffing meeting with yourself first thing in the morning will ensure that you're clear on what's important to you first, not just others. Bonus tip, at the end of the day, make sure you have what I like to call a performance review with yourself. Same thing here. Empower yourself to assess your performance yourself. Don't wait for a manager, a boss, a parent, a family member, a friend, a spouse, anybody else, an external judge or critic to judge you and your performance. The best way to build your own self-esteem is to be the one that constantly defines what you base your self-esteem on. And so that's why having a performance review with yourself at the end of your day, ideally as part of your night routine, is a great way to make sure that you review your performance for the day. So essentially you would take a look at your to-do list and tick everything that has been done if you haven't done that along the way throughout the day. And then you think about what worked for you and what didn't, what was hard to accomplish, what was easiest, and process your overall emotions and thoughts around that to-do list so that you can go to bed feeling really accomplished and empowered, or at least encourage yourself to do as good, if not even better, the next day. And finally, tip number 4 to make your list actionable is to reward yourself. I just talked about assessing your own performance, which then allows you to boost your self-esteem. Another way to congratulate yourself for your performance and therefore to boost your self-esteem is to reward yourself and get in the habit of celebrating your own wins. If you don't do it, who will? Get in the habit of not waiting for others to tell you when you did something good and reward yourself for it. Do it yourself. Who better than yourself to clap for your own self? Introducing rewards for completing items on your to-do list is extremely fun and is a great way to build an incentive for being productive. On top of that, it helps us feel good about the work we've done, build resilience because we know we have something to celebrate, something fun along the way. An important thing to remember here is that celebrations don't necessarily need to happen after you've accomplished something huge. It can happen literally every day and several times a day. As a matter of fact, breaks can be an incredible way of rewarding yourself for engaging in deep focus for a certain amount of time without interruption. So I highly encourage you to practice celebrating your efforts regularly throughout the day to develop a pattern of rewarding yourself for your efforts instead of waiting at the end of the week or at the end of the month to reward yourself. Additionally, on top of being fun and feeling good, breaks are a great way to recharge our energy levels and refreshing our focus. So why skip them? Here you have it for part 2 of this video. Remember this, it's unrealistic to expect of ourselves to perform at 100% every single day, constantly over time. Life happens, and the sooner we're aware of that, the lesser will be our mental charge. I really enjoyed filming this video, so if you did too, make sure you give it a good like, subscribe to my channel, share it with someone who needs to get better with their productivity skills so that they can hang out with you or spend more time with you or have more of a life. I don't know. But feel free to share this video with someone you care about. See you next week. Bye.